Well, here we are again, driving business growth. I mean, what else should we need to be doing? Driving business growth keeps us busy, if you will, but more importantly, it gives us the opportunity to create something, build a legacy for ourselves. So we're in now the third pillar, which deals with organizational structure, and we're now starting the second segment where we're going to drill down now into structure some more and differentiate between an operational structure versus a traditional organizational structure. Now, it doesn't mean you have two charts. Between operational and organizational, I'm going to define them in terms of how they perform, what are the tasks within each, so that you can see the important difference. So now let's get started. And as you go through this video, follow along with the visual that you're going to see here. It gets a little bit busy, but I'm going to try to walk you through as clearly as I possibly can. So, every business, I challenge you to go find any business that doesn't have these 7 components. Every business has these components. I don't care whether it's the corner newspaper stand guy, a one-person employee, or a multinational corporation, publicly traded company, Fortune 500 company. They all have these 7 functions. The first is they have a product or product development. Next, they have marketing. Third, they have sales. Someone has to sell the product. Fourth, they have a service function. Someone buys your product, they need help, they need assistance, that's service. Next, there's a financial function. Could be as simple as a bookkeeper, but it could be more elaborate as a full-fledged CFO, but there is always a financial function. Next is an administrative function, the policies and procedures. And finally, there are people functions, selection, recruitment, development, training. So 7 functions, every business has them. And if you can find one that doesn't, let me know. I'll send you an American Express $50 gift certificate. Now wait a minute, I want to protect myself here. I'm going to limit it to no more than 3. I'm willing to go out for $150, but I'm just so confident that you will not find a business that doesn't have product, marketing, sales, service, financial, administrative, and people. So as you look at the visual, a traditional organizational structure or chart describes who does what. There's a box that says financial, there's a box that says admin, and you know all financial functions take place in that box, and all administrative functions take place in this box. So it's a very static, here's who does what. Now as you look to your right, you'll see I've differentiated by having an operational structure. This, in essence, addresses process. It addresses output. This is how business flows through your organization. In the first video in this pillar, I talked about visualize business coming into your organization. The phone rings, someone buys something. How does that transaction go through your business? What events does it trigger? Buying supplies, packaging, service. So that at the end of the transaction, money goes into your bank account. You get paid. And then you pay your bills, whatever the case may be. So now, if you accept that theory, and there's no reason why you shouldn't, within each of those functions on your chart, you have to make certain that every single employee within those functions understands your vision, understands where you want to take the organization. Remember we said in an earlier video that the vision is a target, it's a destination. It's what you're trying to build 18, 24 months out. And that vision is like an evergreen contract. It's always modifying. It's always adapting. It's so when you complete 1 year, another year forward goes on the vision statement. You're always pushing your vision out, but you're focusing on 18 to 24 months at a time. So within each of those functions, every employee needs to understand what they do, how they do it, and when to do it. Now, most companies do a really good job of describing that in their traditional job descriptions. Where a lot of companies and organizations fall down is that they forget 3 more elements of that description. Not just what, when, and how, but also why. Why do they do it? This is why you do this, because if you don't do this, the people in that department don't get what they need to do their job. So the why is critically important. I had one client draw a flow chart for his people so that they understood how business flowed through their department and they can visually see where their function was, and they understood better their why. So in addition to why they do it, who do they do it for? I mentioned this in an earlier video. There are internal customer relations within an organization as well as external. We want to pay attention to the external because that's the customer. That's the person who's buying our product and service, and we want to make certain that they experience whatever you've described in your vision as your typical customer experience. And make no mistake, you have complete control how you want your customers to describe the experience they have with you. You want it to be so specific that at some point in time, we're all human, we make a mistake. If you have a bad day, your customer will say, well, they had a bad day on this, but they've been consistent before. Let's go back and give them another chance. We all make mistakes. Our customers are tolerant of that. But if you make the same mistakes or new ones, guess where they're going? Somewhere else. So who you do it for is critically important, not only the external customer, but to make sure that everyone is rowing in the same direction amongst all of the functions, not just in the box, but from function to function across your organizational lines. And finally, you want every employee in your organization from the top down to understand where what they do fits in. It's sort of, an explosion of the why concept. Here's why you do it, and here's where it fits in. This is the value you create when you do your job in the right way, when you do your job in a consistent way. Now, you might be sitting back thinking, wow, this is an awful lot of work. Well, let me ask you a question. If you're not focusing on how effectively your organization works in terms of how you deliver your product and service to a customer, what else are you doing? But, other than focusing on growing and improving your business. And if you choose not to do that, guess what? You won't have a business one day. So your people are one of the most important factors in determining the success of your business and the quality of your product and service and the output that you provide your customer. So when I begin to talk about these 6 elements, it's critically important. So to recap, you've got your static organizational structure that describes who does what, and within that you have an operational element that describes the process and the output. We'll get into more process issues when we get to the 4th pillar, which deals with systems and procedures. So for now, what I want you to do is I want you to take a hard look in more detail on the operational side of your chart, the operational purpose of your chart. And I want you to go towards the end, the output, the outcome. And I want you to describe the perfect customer experience you want your buyers to have. And I want you to work backwards and look at all of the pieces of your organization that are involved in that and try to identify one thing only, in each of those functions that you think could be done better or maybe improved or maybe adopted. Take about a week to do that, and then once you have all of those one things, assemble your senior team, get their input, and then launch a one-thing improvement program in each of those functions so that at the end of 12 months, you have a stronger, better, more consistent business.